college basketball expert on the line, Will from Indiana. Hello, Will.
I mean, as long as I get to, talk college basketball with my two favorite sports pundits, then that I figure that's a win. So
for sure. So Will from Indiana.
Yeah.
So I finally surpassed Colin Cowherd for you, huh, Will?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, Clay Travis was number one.
That's right.
I mean,
we're moving up in the power rankings.
Jason Whitlock, or have we superseded him at this point?
Oh man, with him saying that everything is like a Marxist conspiracy theory, I mean that's just like
it's tough.
You all have a long way to go.
It's top tier analysis.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Exactly. So
yeah,
let's March Madness in a few days, right? Starting Wednesday.
Tomorrow is when the first four is.
Oh, right, the first four. I always forget every year about them.
Yeah, it's a really strange rule, but I'm okay with it. But it's to see some teams, especially when it first got in. I know VCU in 2011 made the Final Four, so anything could happen, and that's kind of the theme of this March Madness. This field, aside from a couple teams that are on like the upper tier of just being by far and away the better teams, it's a wide open field. So I've been really digging in to the brackets, and I'm really I think I don't know how you all want to go about this or how long I should go on about like upsets or potential Final Four picks, but any suggestions for that? Or
well, let's just dive into some storylines. I mean, I think the general consensus is that Alabama is in a pretty decent position. I mean, they've like in terms of the bracket and also talent wise is my understanding, and that Kansas kind of got screwed over.
Yes, so Kansas got without a doubt the hardest region because I think they're pretty good for in terms of one seeds. I think they're pretty good for the Sweet 16. But what I've noticed through watching Kansas a lot this year, they have two players in Jalen Wilson and Grady Dick, who I think can carry a team to the second weekend. But outside of those two, I think they're incredibly beatable, and that's why in this region, I have UConn meeting them in the Sweet 16, and I think UConn can beat them. So as a 4 seed, I think they're pretty. Just in terms of their point production, Adama Sanogo, Jordan Hawkins, and Tristan Newton are all average double figures. I think they can give Kansas a game at least, and if they can do that, I think they can beat either Gonzaga or UCLA, the 3 or 2 in that region, and I think UConn's a Final Four sleeper. So out of the West, they can do some damage. I wasn't too high on UConn until I saw this bracket because I think VCU and St. Mary's, the 5-12, I think VCU can win against St. Mary's, and I think UConn can beat VCU being up in New York, being close to home. And then who knows? I think Gonzaga is a bit weaker now. UCLA's had some injuries. And so look for UConn in that region for sure. So, and then in terms of the other team you mentioned being Alabama.
Yeah.
The whole Brandon Miller thing, I don't know how much you all know about that.
I do know a bit. I mean,
wild.
Yeah, pretty insane. I saw the walk-on stuff.
Yeah, and again, I just really it doesn't even speak to like whether or not whether he knew the gun was in his car or not or anything. I don't know. I wasn't there. It's a very fishy situation. It's a very sad situation because a woman lost her life. And so that's going to be hanging over Alabama's program. And it has. I mean, up until the SEC tournament, which they won, and pretty convincingly, they weren't doing very well. And so I think Alabama, with the region they're in, they can make an Elite Eight run. I think they can go further than Kansas because the other teams in this region are pretty weak up until then. Because that's why upsets galore for a lot of tournaments. But I wanted to pick a lot of good upsets and not just pick them for the sake of like, oh, I want a 13 seed to go to the Elite Eight or something.
Right.
Because San Diego State and Virginia in this region, the 5 and 4 seeds respectively, I think they both can lose to Charleston and Furman, and I think Charleston is a very good sleeper team to go to the Sweet 16.
Interesting.
They're good.
Yeah. I think San Diego State, if they can beat Charleston, I think they can beat either Virginia or Furman. So I think the winner of the San Diego State-Charleston game, whichever one you want to go with in your bracket, I would pick in the Sweet 16.
Because Charleston were like 30-3, right? And they almost lost their conference championship, but they got the automatic berth because they pulled it out. But they were a team that I think I was worried were going to miss the bracket if they didn't win, but they absolutely deserve to be there. And I think I agree with you. Are like a feisty pick for a.
So that's an easy 12 over 5.
Yeah, 12 over 5, right?
Bracket, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I'm looking at 12 over 5. And then, that's the same thing with Florida Atlantic. I think they were I think they were more in the tournament than Charleston, but they are also like 31-3. But I will get to them shortly. But
how about Duke over Oral Roberts? That might be another. I mean, I feel like that people I've been following on Twitter have been saying that Duke's been underrated going into the tournament, and I'm sorry to say that out loud.
So here's my thing about Duke and the ACC in general. The ACC has had a very, very weak year. Yeah. And that's why I mentioned Virginia already. I think they can be beat by Furman. I don't think they're making it past the round of 32, if anything. Miami, which won the ACC regular season title, cannot play defense. According to Ken Palm, if I can pull it up, they are 132nd in defensive efficiency. Miami is.
Well, then you're hoping that they beat Drake, so that Indiana faces them in the second round. How about that, Will?
Yes. In the Midwest region, I think Indiana got a bit lucky. I think they can beat Kent State and Drake. Or Miami. Well, maybe not Drake, but Miami I think they can beat. Drake's a bit more iffy. But going back to Duke, it's like they rolled through. They're the hottest team in the ACC, but they're beating teams that have a glaring problem. And I mean, UNC was one of them that didn't even make the tournament, and rightfully so. And Virginia and Miami definitely have their problems. I think Duke can beat Oral Roberts. That's going to be the game of the weekend. Duke and or the first round. Duke and Oral Roberts is going to be the game that I would consider a lot of people should be able to watch. And whoever wins that game is my pick for the Sweet 16 because the 4 seed in that region is Tennessee, and Tennessee cannot play. They cannot shoot. They can't score. And so I think Tennessee can get past their opponent in Louisiana, but I'm just making my friend who's a Tennessee fan happy by saying that because he knows that Tennessee's not going to the Sweet 16.
And Oral Roberts has one of my favorite recent college players, Max Asmus. I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah, Max Asmus.
Yeah,
he's spelled so weirdly, but Max Asmus.
Yeah, it's ABMAS and it's spelled pronounced Asmus. He is like a water bug, super quick, super good shooting point guard on Oral Roberts, and he was kind of a fun guy to watch in last year's tournament. I will definitely be looking forward to seeing him. Hopefully, he can stifle the post Coach K Blue Devils.
What's your take on the Longhorns' chances, Will?
Oh, the Longhorns! I think Texas. They got a bit of an unfair matchup against, especially the 7-10 matchup in that region with Texas A&M and Penn State. Penn State is a team that I think Texas will be able to beat because they have guards that can counter Penn State's three-point shooting. They're the best three-point shooting team in the Big Ten. And Texas with Marcus Carr and their other guards, I can't think of them off the top of my head. I think they can beat Penn State, and if so, I think they're definitely an Elite Eight team. Mm-hmm. But if they face Texas A&M, who is underseeded as a 7 seed, who got red hot in the SEC, beat several very good teams like Alabama, they beat Tennessee. They went to the championship game. They lost to Alabama. No shame in that loss. But a 7 seed for Texas A&M is a slap in the face. And so they're going to be playing pissed off. And if Texas A&M and Texas meet, that is a game that if you have those two teams matching up, I would possibly pick A&M in that game. That's a bit of a controversial take, but I think Texas A&M can pull that off. Even though Texas, they just won the Big 12 tournament against Kansas. They beat Kansas twice in the span of a week. I get that. But in the NCAA tournament, you never, ever know what can happen.
And Texas sometimes wilts in the tournament. We've seen it time and time again. It's been even when Rick Barnes was at the helm, we've seen that. Like it's I kind of have to believe Texas can get a little bit farther than like the round of 32, like by seeing it actually happen. And A&M definitely has been way more feisty down the stretch, which I'm interested in. We've had a lot of I love to see an interstate rivalry game early on in the tournament.
Yeah, I totally agree. And again, to your point, like Rick Barnes had a bunch of different NBA ready superstars like Miles Turner and who was on that team in the like the 2011 year where they lost like Arizona and Derek Williams. I can't remember their names, but there's always been sort of a letdown in right. the Texas Longhorn ways. And I'm sorry, David Griscom, if you ever see this, but again, if Texas plays Penn State, then I have them going further. But again, I think Houston. It all depends on if Marcus Sasser, their star guard, gets healthy, suffering a groin injury. I think they can beat. They're definitely favored in this region, and I'm sorry to say, as an Indiana fan, I don't think they're beating Houston with or without Marcus Sasser. I think they can get to the Sweet 16 if all matches up properly. I think it's going to be tougher if they face Drake than Miami. So we'll see there. And then finally, I think in a couple more points in the East region, which is kind of like the most wild region, like the Oral Roberts Duke section. If Purdue being the 1 seed, and I'm not trying to harp on Purdue being the arch rival and everything, but I think if Memphis defeats Florida Atlantic, I think Memphis can make a big run in the tournament. Oof. That team scares me, and I think if Florida Atlantic wins that 9-8 matchup, I think Purdue can easily win, and they can make a big run because. In the other matchups like Kansas State, who I'm not high on, Kentucky has struggled a lot. Michigan State, I'm not too high on, and Marquette being a 2 seed, and I think rightfully so. They're a team I think that can go to the Elite Eight because they especially with their guard Tyler Kolek, who's one of the best point guards that I've seen all year, and so. I think whoever gets out of that region can meet Marquette, either Memphis or Purdue, and I think either of those teams can win. And if Memphis does beat Florida Atlantic and Purdue and Memphis match up, then I might be calling it. Purdue might be the first 1 seed to go down. I'm not saying that as a biased IU fan because I have a soft spot a little bit for Purdue because my cousin and uncle are big Purdue fans, and I love them a lot. But I think they got an unfair matchup in this region.
They can,
especially again.
They're chokers, though.
Sorry. Yeah, especially because they lost to St. Peter's last year.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
I remember that now. Yeah.
I remember where I was when that happened. I was outside Arlene's grocery, and I was literally watching the game on my phone.
Oh my god!
No, I was losing my mind.
Oh my god!
But
all right, well, go on.
No, it's okay. I was just saying like they are really good. And Zach Edey, their like massive center, has really been showing out for the last few games. He just dropped like 32 points. I don't remember who they were playing, but he had a great game.
I think it was Ohio State.
It was Ohio State. He had a great game against Ohio State. I just think it's a matter of they're similar to me as Texas. Matt Painter has been their coach for like 20 years, and he's had a few deep runs, but he's just never been able to really punch the ticket. So I just think Edey might give him their best shot because they got close with Jaden Ivey last year, but this is, I think, his best shot to potentially get to the Final Four, and we'll see if he's able to not get upset by whoever they're playing. But I think it's pretty wide open. I'm excited for it to get started. It's always one of the best sports events of the year.
It truly is.
So I really think the window is pretty open for a lot of teams to make a run or surprise us. So I'll be looking forward to it. You'll have to call back in as we get further into the tournament.
All right.
absolutely will.
Will
sorry, Emily.
Final pick. Your final.
Oh yes, yeah.
I want your top two and your winner.
Yeah, well, I'm actually, I'm going to start with the Final Four. Just
there you
because
go.
That's the big
Final
thing
Four,
and
then we'll filter.
I didn't want to put too much pressure on you, but yes, as is tradition, Final Four.
Yeah, of course, and then I will let you all get on with the show. So I have, in the first Final Four game, I have Arizona and Memphis in the first game, and then in the second game, I have Houston, barring if Marcus Sasser can stay healthy throughout this tournament, and UConn. So I have Arizona moving past Memphis, I think, with Tubelis and Umar Ballo and Kerr Kriisa. They have a lot of foreign players because Tommy Lloyd's their head coach, and he former assistant at Gonzaga who got a lot of the foreign players there. And then I have Houston moving past UConn, so it sets up Arizona and Houston. And because the Final Four is in Houston, Texas, of course I have to pick Houston. They've been possibly the best team all season, maybe them and Alabama. And so I am going with that matchup. Houston wins 72-68. There you have it.
Close. I agree, though. It's hard. I know it's sometimes too chalky and not super exciting to pick a number one seed. But Houston, every other team that's either been number one or close has had some significant slide or a string of upsets. I'm looking at you, Tennessee, but Houston has kind of been pretty consistently dominant. Only I think a few close game against Alabama, but not a whole lot of stains on their record. So I think they're really the team to beat. So I definitely see where you're coming from there, Will.
All right, Will.
The only one seed in the Final Four. Yeah, and thank you all again.
You are. I appreciate it. You are our March Madness correspondent,
our guru.
And good luck to Indiana. Be rooting for them.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Best
luck to all of your brackets.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right.
Bye, Will.
Bye.